One minifigure versus an entire island full of dinosaurs, from raging carnivores to massive stampedes. Stranded with nothing, he has one objective: survive. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is Will, an everyday minifigure stuck in a claustrophobic cubicle working his life away at a soul-crushing job. And the boss is constantly barking about quarterly sales reports, not to mention watching his every move.
No good.
All the workers are required to display these motivational posters that are just depressing. The only thing keeping Will going is the calendar behind his desk, each day crossed off counting down to one thing: his long-awaited Paradisa cruise that he's been dreaming of for months. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the day finally arrived. So with his suitcase packed, he bolted out the door. To build our cruise boat, we're cracking open this Jurassic World Mosasaurus set. However, it didn't really have the right look, so what I had planned as slight modifications ended up as a complete rebuild. But the new model is way better for our story. Breathing in the salty air, Will jaunted down the dock and handed his boarding pass to the captain. The luxurious cruise promised endless amenities, food and drinks, fun games, and breathtaking views. And just when it felt like things couldn't get any better, he hit things off with a smoking hot babe named Julia. His vacation felt more than perfect, until the captain fell asleep at the wheel, and the ship silently slipped into uncharted waters. Little did anyone know that lurking deep beneath their feet was an ancient behemoth, and they had just intruded into his territory. Spotting an island on the distant horizon, he swam towards his only hope. Staring out at the endless ocean, he spotted a battered briefcase drifting towards the shore. Popping the latches, he only found spare clothes, but at least they were dry. Scanning the island, he noticed an old sign. It bore the unmistakable logo. The long-abandoned park. He was on its island. A compy had munched his butt. He clung for dear life as the vicious brood snapped and lashed in the sand. Eventually, they lost interest and scurried into the jungle. Back on solid ground, he scavenged sticks and vines to craft a makeshift SOS sign. But the hours passed with no signs of help. Sunburnt, hungry, and with an infected bite wound, he had to venture into the jungle for resources, which, in its current state, is looking pretty sparse. So to bring it to life, I made an emergency run to the Lego store. At the Pick-a-Brick wall, you can get whatever you want, so I gathered up a ton of parts to help with the video. Leaves, vines, and other stuff, all perfect for crafting a dense Jurassic jungle. I started by laying down a ton of foliage to make it look lush and wild. Using ball joints and arches, I built this tree. Gathering his courage, Will marched into the jungle. He'd barely stepped a foot in when... With his hair reattached, Will trekked deeper into the jungle in search of resources. Which brings us to our next build, an abandoned service station overgrown and reclaimed by nature. Its only power comes from a few weak solar panels. Stepping inside, Will scanned the dusty shelves and cracked cabinets for anything useful. His eyes landed on a medkit. Beneath a dusty table, he spotted a map. Among the trails, a power icon at the science lab caught his eye. If he could get there and restore power, he might be able to get off the island. In the meantime, though, he was still starving. With his only quarter gone, he had one desperate option. With the Indoraptor long gone, Will stepped out and around the service station where he found an old Jeep, rusted and tangled in moss and vines. Armed with his set of tools, he dove into the repairs. And he was even able to get some fuel from this pump. If he was going to make it to the lab, he'd have to cross Triceratops Valley, but halfway through the road stopped. Before him loomed a massive T-Rex skeleton. Behind her, a fallen tree, splintered apart at the trunk, both likely casualties of the same battle. With night falling fast, Will chose to make camp. The collection of bones and branches offered perfect building materials. Old fabric from the service station served as curtains. With his intimidating shelter complete, Will finally sat down to enjoy some of his snacks before bed. And in the morning, he set out again. Venturing deeper into the valley, the plant life became thicker and more exotic until he barely recognized any of it. With his Jeep permanently flattened, Will had no choice but to continue on foot. New sets from Lego Adventures help Will survive the jungle, build the ancient ruins, discover hidden secrets. To upgrade the set, I completely overhauled the waterfall that was originally only a single piece. Then I added a huge interior expansion, and to really make it immersive, I surrounded it all with jungle. As Will marched towards the ruins, he could hardly believe his ears. Voices in the distance. Lo and behold, there they were, his friends. To Will, the reunion made all the almost dying mostly worth it. Next, he ventured into the ruins in search of gear. The abandoned attraction was full of cave paintings, dusty exhibits, ancient relics, souvenirs, and more. And then he found the jackpot, a flashlight, binoculars, flare gun, lighter, and keycard, granting him a truly useful weapon. As Will told the group, no one realized their perch was a nest. Will's brief reunion made the second loss unbearable. Forging ahead with his companions, they came upon a huge solar-powered fence. Thinking it was dead, Lionel made a critical blunder. Quite needlessly too, as Will's keycard granted them access. Bonus building tip, I'm using this plate with an edge on it that allows the gate to seamlessly slide back and forth. Finally, it's time to build the science lab, so I grabbed my trusty DK Lego books and cracked them open for some inspiration. Then, I gathered up the relevant pieces from my own collection and started building. By using metal beam support pieces, I gave it a large industrial design. The lab was just ahead, but then they encountered a new problem: juvenile raptors. Luckily, Will had been a high school pitcher. With the path cleared, they approached the door, a heavy metal slab supported with rusty gears. Lighting his torch, they prepared to enter. Inside, they had one mission: find the power. Searching the lab, they discovered computers, dino embryos, microscopes, specimens, and various pieces of equipment. But it wasn't until he climbed onto the roof that he found the switch. Power surged through the lab. Monitors buzzed and glowed as he ran to the phone to call for help.
We're stranded on the island. Please send help.
Guys, you better come and look at this.
Looming behind the captain was a giant two-headed raptor, an abomination of nature. With smoke filling the lab, they had to escape, but bolting outside, they weren't any safer. Crashing through the trees, a Titanosaurus burst in with Julia riding its back. Turns out, while clinging to a branch, the gentle giant had plucked her from the river, becoming fast friends. And now, it'd be an epic showdown. With the Titan down, Will had to act. As the Spinosaurus fell dead, they looked up to see the chopper approaching. Their rescue had arrived. With his newfound courage, Will strode into his boss's office and quit, ready for a new adventure. Thanks for watching, see you next time.